Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Derek Richards, your host here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thanks for joining me. Good to be back. Was on the road for a couple weeks. Was up in Michigan doing some stuff, and then went down to Florida, in Tampa, working with Dave Landau. Funny dude. If you ever get a chance to see him, DaveLandau.com is his website. Definitely check him out when he comes to your neck of the woods. But it's good to be back. Back here in Vegas. I'm actually going to be I'm at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club at the MGM Grand through October 31st. And then I'll be at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio November 4, 5, 6, and 7 here in Las Vegas as well. DerekRichards.com is my website. Go there and find all the dates. And also check out our sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to go ahead and bet sports, you got to bet with your brain. All right. You always want to pick your favorite team, but you got to go ahead and go with the analytics. These guys do all the homework for you. They made me some money last night on a World Series game. Cannot complain about that at all. They have been crushing it in college football. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. They put their record right there on the website. They couldn't be any more transparent and honest with you. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Also, check out my album, Double Down. You can snag it wherever you download stuff. iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. The link to the album is also on my website, DerekRichards.com. Very cool. Now, let's get to our guest, comedian who is here in Las Vegas now, started off in the Pacific Northwest. Kind of got, he's from the Pacific Northwest, and then he kind of honed his craft on the stages in Boston. Comedian, actor, writer. He has over 100 million views across YouTube and other social media platforms. He shot a special in St. Louis. We're going to talk about that. He has 3 podcasts called Hollingsworthless, Love in Black and White, and Fucking Boo. Comedian, Big Irish J. Hollingsworth, here on A Drink with Derek.
And don't get me wrong, I want to lose weight, but I'm kind of afraid to, because, I don't think I'm the best looking guy in the world, but I'd say, right now, I'd say I'm, like a fat 8. Fat 9 if I'm hanging out with other fats, you know? And the thing is, when you lose weight, you don't know what the end result's gonna be. I can lose weight and just end up being a thin 6. You know? Look at Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton was a fat, 6? But then he lost weight, now he's a thin 2. Dude, he's a fucking newborn. He can't even lift his head up.
Hey, what's happening? Big Irish J. Where was that video shot at?
The Comedy Union in LA. One of the only, I don't even know if it reopened after the pandemic, but it was one of the only Black-owned comedy clubs in the country, Comedy Union.
Nice. Super cool, man. Well, you're here in Las Vegas now. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me, and sláinte to you.
Oh, look at you. You got I'm doing a little bit of Irish coffee. You actually have a bottle of the good stuff. Tullamore Dew 12-year.
Yes.
Tullamore is my go-to. I love that. With even their low-end whiskey, which is still, it's $23 a bottle, $20 a bottle. For a pedestrian-priced whiskey, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Do you still, see, I'm getting older. Do you still put it back like you used to?
I do it on the rocks. I don't do shots. I love when I joke around about being Irish and I drink whiskey, and then people say, hey, let me buy you a shot. And then they pour me a shot, and I just dump it over my glass with ice in it. And you would just think that you ripped out their grandmother's uterus when you do that. People seem so insulted when you don't knock back a shot. I just don't do shots anymore. I'll gladly drink it. I'm just going to sip it. So,
yeah.
But no, I remember. Believe me, the years catch up with you. There's no doubt.
Oh, dude, I was talking to my pops, he's 80 now, and he still goes out to the bars and drinks. And I was talking to him, this is about a year ago, and I was like, you still put him back like you used to? And he's like, oh yeah, I like to go out and mix it up, have about 10 or 12 drinks. And I'm like, you mix alcohols? Like white, brown, whatever. He's like, oh yeah, I like to have fun. And I'm like, you don't get heartburn? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, I don't. Can we swear on this? I don't even know.
Absolutely.
Okay, I won't. No. But I was just like, I'm like, how do you not fucking have heartburn? I'm like, dude, oh god, dude. We were talking on that email, and I'm like, if I eat within like 6 hours before going to bed, I'm waking up with heartburn. If I'm drinking, it's fucking, it's the worst.
Well, your dad's 80 years old. He's been obviously doing this for a long ass time. So now it's if he stops, it's like the old joke. If Keith Richards started eating salad and put down the booze, he would just die. So it's, I mean, your old man. I mean, now he just needs to maintain this. I mean, he's got 80 years under his belt. The dude won. He's had a great life. Keep doing what you're doing, sir.
Yeah. I wish he had a great son.
Well, here comes the Irish guilt.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck.
Perfect. Quick, you're a resourceful guy, I'm assuming. I'm gonna throw something at you real quick. I've got I opened my fridge and I'm trying to make do with these 3 items. So I'm gonna play a quick little episode of Chopped and see what you would come up with.
All right. And I'm not I don't cook shit.
Well, this is going to be hilarious then. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got blue cheese dressing, an apple, and some leftover Kung Pao chicken.
Okay. So the blue cheese I'd throw away. I don't fucking do blue cheese. I don't do blue cheese. I don't do ranch. Fuck all that. So that right away, I just throw that away. The apple, yeah, I'd probably, I would just eat them individually. I don't know if that, maybe put an apple, slice up the apple on the Kung Pao. I don't even know how that would taste. Does the Kung Pao have vegetables in it? Because I don't do vegetables.
What, you don't do vegetables? Well, this is going to be a huge problem. So I don't think you're going to live as long as your dad. So I'm going to take the under. Caesars has the over-under on you at 60. I'm putting $1,000 on the under.
Is it Caesars because of the salads?
Yes, exactly. It's Caesars because of the salads. You got it nailed. I got to ask, I was looking at your website, bigirishj.com or jhollingsworth.com, either one. You got some killer comments from some comedians, what they have said about you. D.L. Hughley says, Jay is funny, original, and edgy. Louis Anderson says, Jay is a great joke writer. Gary Gulman says, you are ballsy and very, very funny. Greg Fitzsimmons, by the way, had hands down the funniest comment that is on your website. It says, he's a master of several martial arts and a good comedian, solid guy, positive energy. I can't imagine he has a lot of sex.
Yeah.
I don't get, just from people that I know who know Greg Fitzsimmons, that is, I've shared that with a couple of people and they go, that is such a Greg Fitzsimmons thing to say.
Oh, I'll tell you my favorite. Actually, I have a few Greg Fitzsimmons stories that I love. So I was the house MC at Parlor Live in Bellevue, Washington for about 3 years. And excuse me, first time Greg comes in there, we meet, we get along great. End of the week comes and Greg's like, he's like, here, take my number. So I take his number. He goes, if you're ever in LA, hit me up and I'll see what I can do for you. So I was like, okay, cool. 3 months later, I'm in LA. I text him, hey, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And no response. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm not gonna sweat the guy, right? About 3 months after that, comes back to the parlor again. Another great weekend. I take him down to Pike Place Market. We go do all this stuff. End of the week comes. He's like, do you have my number? I go, oh yeah. And he goes, hey, if you're ever in LA, give me a call. I'll see what I can do. And I go, okay, cool. And are you gonna ignore me like you did last time? And he gets this really like sad and stunned look. He's like, did that really happen? I go, yeah. You told me to call you. I texted you. You didn't respond. So I was just like, fuck it. He's like, oh, Jesus. Okay, cool. So you won't be weird when I do it next time. It's so great.
That's classic. I can't imagine he has a lot of sex. So here's what I'm going to ask you right now. I want you to give me your sales pitch to a woman. All right? You got your elevator pitch for Big Irish J.
Well, how do you know I like
Because-
women?
Or whatever you. I don't give me your sales pitch to an emu. I don't give a shit. Whatever you want. Whatever you want to. I don't care if you put your dick in a hole in a fence post.
That's usually is my pitch.
That's usually it. Listen, if I'm not sleeping with you, I'm gonna probably go fuck a fence post.
Yeah.
30-second sales pitch to a woman. 30-second pitch. You walk. She sees you. See someone who is clearly interested in you, and she's giving you a chance. She's not.
Yep.
She's open-minded. She's gonna give you 30 seconds to sell yourself. Big Irish J, go.
All right, this is what I'm going to do. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. It's going to pay off, hopefully. I just go like this.
Look. Oh, come on.
I'm like, hey, what's going on? Just me and my dog. How are you doing? Oh. That's all I do. That's all I do.
That's it. So you're not a prop act on stage, but you're a prop act when it comes to picking up chicks.
Yeah,
it's a good prop, by the way. What's your dog's name?
Don Wrinkles.
Don Wrinkles.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I've seen his picture on your social media on Instagram. Yeah. He's a badass looking dog. If that doesn't get you laid, I don't know what's going to get you laid.
Yeah. I was going to say I'm at the point now where I put in as little effort as possible just because I don't care. I'm at an age where I'm just like, if I saw somebody across the way and they seemed interested, I would just be like, hey. And if it gets no response, cool, totally cool.
There's nothing wrong with being the lazy infielder.
Yeah.
If they hit the ball to you, you're going to make the play, but you're not going to dive for anything.
Exactly. I'm David Ortiz.
Your uniform, the way it looks, day one is going to be day 162. Not a spot on it.
You get me, Derek.
That's nuts. I think that's hysterical. I love the lazy infielder approach. You started off in now you're from the Pacific Northwest, and according to your website, you kind of really got your teeth going in Boston, which to me is the most incredible comedy scene anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I started in Boston. I tell people, I think, if I'm being honest, I think when I started was kind of a dip in it. I think it's gotten better now, and it was way better before I started. But I think when I started, it wasn't as good of a scene as it had been and as it is now. But some of the people I came up with are great comics, and but I just don't think it wasn't as big of a scene, I don't think, when I started, for whatever reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I was there for about 2 years doing stand-up. And
when did you start?
Say again?
When did you start?
2008.
Okay.
August 28th, 2008, Kennedy's Midtown. I have the video of the very first time I ever went on stage. And I said, if I ever get to 1 million followers or make $1 million, I will post that video, but not until then, because it is brutal. Dude, it's like it's a Kennedy's Midtown was this little bar, and there was a stage on the corner, and it wasn't even an open mic. It was like a showcase show that I had no business being on. I took a stand-up class, and I was telling for those that don't know, if you do a stand-up class, you go through the class and you have a graduation show, and everybody invites their friends and family, and everybody does great because everybody there they know. But I told the instructor of the class, who's now a buddy of mine, I told him, I was like, I'll do the graduation show, but I want to do something before then. I want to either earn my laughs or eat shit. I want honest laughs. So he was like, well, call this guy Scotty Lombardo and see if he can do anything. So I called him. He's like, you can take bullet on the show. On this show that I had no business being on, my very first time, Mike Kaplan, Shane Moss, Brian Moot, Tyler Bowe, Andrew Slater, and I think Mayron, who's now at the Cellar in New York. And I did 8 minutes, and I got paid because there was like a community bucket. And I was like, I definitely don't deserve this. So I just took that and bought beers for everybody. And but yeah, it's dude. I wore like a fucking blazer because I was like, no, this is what comics wear. And this little corner stage, there was a light that as soon as I stood on the stage, the light was literally like 3 inches from my forehead, and I'm just pouring sweat in this suit. And yeah, it's brutal, Derek. It is brutal.
Now, the first time you went up on stage, do you your memory of that? Did you now? You obviously look back at it now. Anytime you watch videos that are older, you go, "Oh my god, what was I thinking?"
I
At
hated
the time when you did it.
At the beginning.
At the well, now the video that you had, I mean, from your first time on stage, when you were going through it at that time, did you think this is the greatest shit I've ever said? Or when you got done, you went, what am I doing?
You know what's interesting is I've always with comedy, I've always had this thing where it's always been the science of comedy for me. I love the science of comedy. Like not to sound like an asshole, but I've always been able to make people laugh before stand-up, whether it's friends or family or whatever. So my first time on stage, as soon as I got off, I immediately was like, okay, why didn't this work? Why did they laugh at this thing that I didn't even recognize? When this guy said something, I should have done this. So as soon as I got done, I immediately wanted to go back up somewhere and just keep working the craft, you know. But I don't know if I didn't have really an opinion of if it was good or bad either way. I think it was more just trying to get it better. What it was, whatever
Right.
that the shitty jokes was I was telling was just how can I get them better and how can I improve? And it's the same thing with martial arts. I used to teach martial arts, and I always loved like the science of it, like angles and you know how can like some small dude just with like technique and angles overpower some huge dude, you know, or a muscle guy or whatever.
So you had an MMA studio.
Yes, Oregon Academy. It was in Portland, Oregon. It was called the Oregon Academy of Modern Kung Fu, and it said self-offense. I hated the term self-defense because I always was like, I don't need you to be hitting me to know that we're in a fight. So I called it self-offense.
So let me get this straight. Somebody of your size, 6'8", big dude, you possess mixed martial arts skills. I am just making a note to myself. Never piss off Jay. Got it.
Now I'm old and fat though, so it's like bad knees, you know, and I mean,
but you can't forget that stuff that you know the moves. You know what needs to be done to take somebody out. When did you stop doing that and start doing comedy?
I think I stopped around 2000, or probably right around 2000. I think it was around 2000. Okay. Yeah, I'm older than maybe 2005. I'm older than I look. Most people think I'm like around 30 or 35, 40. I'm 50, which fucking makes no sense to me. Yeah, and that seems like a lifetime ago. But I mean, I started out boxing, and then first I boxed. Then I did a style called Off-Foxadet, which was like a mixture of a bunch of shit. Then I did a
what
style
the hell
called
is that?
Off-Foxadet. It was the name that the guy that taught it created, Professor Ali Muhammad, rest in peace. That's his name. Don't you fucking make a joke. I'm
not saying a word.
And then I did a style called...
Now that I know what you know, I'm not saying anything that's going to piss you off.
Then I did a style called Woon Hop Kyun Do, which the base of it was called Kaju Kembo, Karate, Judo, Kempo, Chinese Boxing, under Al Dacascos. And then that was all in Oregon. Then I moved to Seattle, and I was like, I'm done with martial arts. You know, I think I can handle myself in a street fight. I'm not interested in like point fighting or whatever. And then this guy I worked with at Verizon, he was like, oh, you got to meet my roommate's uncle. He was one of Bruce Lee's students. And I was like, okay, sure. You know, I'm like, everybody has some connection to Bruce Lee and martial arts. And so for about a year, he kept saying, no, just come up and check. And so finally, after about a year, I went up and I walk in. There's this huge black and white picture of Bruce Lee with Joe James DeMille doing what's called Chi Sao, sticky hands. And I was like, oh, maybe this dude's legit. So then I went in, I did the intro with him and, you know, kind of explaining what he did, what they didn't do and why. And I was like, I'm in. And then that started my journey on Wing Chun Do. I just noticed that you can see that I have like lotion here. Like I just sit in this chair and jack off.
No judgment. It's your office.
It's because I film my podcast here and I'll sit down. I'll be like, oh, fuck, I'm dry as shit. I need to put some of this on. Let's get this off camera. That'd be great.
Let's pull your browser history up.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You've got a podcast. You have 3 podcasts. Hollingsworth, Love in Black and White, and Fucking Boo. And Fucking Boo is based on bombing stories from comedians.
Yes.
Because anybody, again, in our business, you're supposed to go up and do well. Nothing is better than watching a friend of yours who you know is hilarious go up and just eat a dump truck full of dicks.
Yes.
There is nothing better than that. Continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and there's also nothing better than if you can help fuck your friend, which you did to me can I tell this? I'll set this up. All right. Fucking me, Mark Cohen, who's an awesome comic in his own right. He's he's the MC at the Comedy Cellar. Me, Mark, and Derek, we got a gig for, what was it, 2 p.m.?
Like 2 p.m. over at the Orleans. It was for a group of Shriners.
That's
bunch of old dudes.
I didn't know. I just was told, show up at 2, you're getting paid this, you'll do like 15 minutes. Okay, cool. You know, how bad can it be? How bad can it be? Oh, it can be pretty fucking bad. So we get there, and I walk into this giant room that it probably seats 1,000, and there was maybe, I don't know what, 100 people, maybe.
Probably.
No, yeah. So every light in the fucking universe is lit up. So it's lit up, you know, just like we're doing a TED Talk. And
it's all the overhead lights are up. So anybody watching this who's not, when you go to a comedy club, obviously the lighting is on stage. It's very focused. It's lit up that way for a reason, to draw people's attention to the stage. Where we're at, it's literally lights up. Could have been an insurance presentation. So
yeah. And so we all get there and we're talking and we're like, oh, how are we going to do the lineup? And Mark's like, I'd like to go first, since he opens all the time at the Cellar. And we were like, okay, cool. And I immediately was like, okay, I'll go second. Because I was like, I don't want to fucking close this out. I don't want to be the headliner. But we're all supposed to do 15 minutes. Okay, cool. So Mark, before he goes up, he says to me, hey, can you light me at 10? And I was like, okay, sure. At 7 minutes, Mark is on stage. And this is, let me set this crowd. I would say 60 and up for everyone. Would you agree, Derek?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 60 and up. All
easily.
Guys.
We were the youngest ones in there by a long shot.
Yeah. And there was like, maybe it was all men except for like 3 women that were in the very back that I don't even know if they were part of it, or if they just happened to walk in and they were like, oh, let's see if any of these guys kill themselves on stage. I don't know why they were there, but so Mark goes up and he's like, he tells me, light me at 10 minutes. So I go, okay, cool. At 7.5 minutes from the stage, Mark yells back, how am I doing on time? And we both kind of just start laughing. At 9 minutes, Mark goes, okay, you guys ready for your next comedian? And I look at you, Derek. I'm like, what the fuck? So I tell you, I'm like, oh, can you light me at like 13? Derek, my friend, goes, sure, no problem. And so there's some comics, for those that don't know, there's some comics, and I don't know how they do it, but they know their time. They don't need a light. They don't need a watch or to look at anything. Somehow they fucking know when they've done their time, whatever that time is. I'm not. I basically go until I see a light. So I'm on stage and I'm like, okay. And it's awful. It's going awful. Like you see this from 95% of the people is just arms crossed. I opened to, I think I said something, I think I said one of the guys to the left who was asleep. I was like, is that guy dead? Didn't go over well.
See, you did better. You did better than you thought, but continue. Because I was in the back, and when I say in the back, to set the stage for the people, the stage, quote unquote, was literally risers, and then there was like a pipe and drape set up there. Yeah. So Mark Cohen and I are right behind this drape, behind this curtain. So there was no like legitimate backstage area. So Mark and I are just back there kind of whispering bullshit and stuff like that. And you're rolling. And I mean, I'm like, they're having fun. Cool. Continue.
Could have pulled
Sorry.
me. No, I'm like, dude, I'm just up there. I'm getting like the fucking flop sweats, and I'm just like, oh god, fucking. So I just keep going, and I'm like, okay, you know, I wonder, I should probably be getting a light pretty soon. I keep looking to the side because you and Mark are behind me, behind the wall, aka the cloth curtain. And I keep looking to the side. I'll look over and I'll see the sound guy that's just looking at me like, yeah, just keep going, man. So I just keep rattling off shit, and it feels like nothing is hitting. And I keep looking, and I'm like, and then at one point I hear Mark, and so I reach back and I say something to him, and he was like, oh, Jesus. And then it got to the point, like, I don't know my time, like where I'm at in time, but I was like, okay, this seems extreme. It's like, this seems way more than 15 minutes. I don't know how. And Mark has left at this point, and so I don't think you ever lit me, did you? I just finally was like,
in my head, and now I called you afterwards and apologized because in my mind,
first of all, this is comic shit though. I was like, you apologize. I was like, no, I get it. This is fucking great. I mean, yeah.
Well, because in my head, I'm thinking there's no way, as bad as this gig is going, there's no way he's going to go long. So now you're up there like maybe 22, 23 minutes. And I'm like, oh, he's going to keep going. He's going to keep going. And so finally you look back and you go, am I done? And I go, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Dude, I was like, God damn it. And immediately I got off stage. I think I brought you up, and I think I literally walked off the stairs and then just went right out the door and left. And then I called Mark, and he was like, did I really only do 9 minutes? I was like, yeah, it's fine. I think I covered it.
That was so funny. That was great. I mean, that's, and that was like, a 15-minute spot. I mean, we all have these stories where we have just completely bombed. I mean, is there any other scenario that comes to the top of your mind that you can think of where you went, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah, I was featuring for Leslie Jones, who's a crusher, just a great comic. And excuse me, I had just done the Bay Area Black Comedy Competition in Oakland, which I got invited to. And so I was like, sure, I'll do it. I was the only white guy in the finals, which I just kept. Every time I kept moving on, I was just like, all right, I don't think I'm going to win this, but this is all gravy, And I did a joke when I was opening for Leslie. I did a joke that I had just done in the Bay Area, and it did fine in the Bay Area. I don't do the joke anymore because Bill Burr, I found out, has something that's kind of similar. But this crowd in Bellevue, Washington, it was a predominantly black crowd, which usually black crowds are great. Like they're very honest audiences. They don't give you courtesy laughs, but it was an older black crowd. And I don't know if it's because the movie 42 had come out about Jackie Robinson, but the joke I did, I said, I was talking about interracial dating. And I go, if you've never dated interracially, you should, because you will get that person's best. I said, I went out with this, and I said to a Puerto Rican girl, I went out with this Puerto Rican girl. She'd never been with a white guy. So now I feel like I have all of Ireland on my back that I have to represent for, and I go, it's a lot of pressure. I said, basically to her vagina, my penis is like the Jackie Robinson of cocks. So that did okay. That was fine. I feel like there's all these other white penises that are looking at mine like, come on, man, if you do good, we may all get in there. That does okay. And then Derek, I say, I was worried. Oh God. I was worried there was going to be a sign above her vagina that said, no whites allowed, go around back. And that.
Oh, shit.
Dude, you hear the whole audience audibly just go, oh. And so I was like stunned that it got that reaction. Cause like the week before it did fine in the Bay Area Black Comedy Competition. So I was like stunned, and I looked around and I literally go, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Finished my set. They hated me. I get off stage. I go in the green room, And Leslie Jones, she goes, "What happened, Jay?" And I go, "I don't know, Leslie. I'm sorry." And she goes, No, Jay, fuck them." She goes, "That's a good joke." She goes, "Fuck them." And then Leslie goes up, and I'm in the back of the room at the sound booth. And Leslie opens with, she goes, "Oh, did Jay offend you, you sensitive motherfucker?" She's like, "Fuck all of you." She's like, "That's a good joke." And then she's yelling to me over the crowd, "Jay, fuck them. Fuck all of them. That's a good joke." And then she went on to crush for an hour and got a standing ovation. And so I will always defend and love Leslie Jones.
That's super cool to have that validation from somebody like that.
Yeah. But
especially when you come off stage feeling like complete shit. How did you end up becoming endearing yourselves to black audiences? And I say that only because white comedians have a tendency, if there's an all-black crowd, they freak out. Or they kind of, or they go into a different kind of mode where all of a sudden they try to not be who they are, and the audiences can pick up on that.
Oh, gross. So I have two. There's two guys in my life. Whoa, that's a weird start of a sentence. There's two guys in my life
that explains the lotion. Continue.
Yeah, exactly. Cocoa butter, of course. There's two guys I grew up with that I consider family. They're like brothers to me, Matt and Mark Garlington, both black. And I mean, not that Oregon or Portland, Oregon has like this huge black community, but where it was located when I was growing up, I grew up there. My grandparents kind of lived in the black area, if you want to say, or whatever. So I always grew up around, I went to like a predominantly black church, Maranatha and stuff. And so I always grew up around black folks. But, and then as far as like the stand-up, I don't know. I mean, there's certain things I think black audiences are some of the best because they are honest. Like they don't give you courtesy laughs. And then I don't like pandering. I hate pandering, like to, especially white comics in black rooms. I call it white blackface. And when I did the Bay Area, there was a few white comics in it that definitely were doing it. And when I say by that for the audience is white comics in a black room going up and just doing like the stereotypical, like, "Oh, I'm white, so I can't dance. I have a small dick. I have great credit." All this shit. It drives me nuts. And so I don't do any of that shit. I sometimes, like, I shit on everybody. I shit on myself. And I'll call black people out for shit. I mean, you know, I call white people out for shit we do, but I will also call black people out. Like a bit that I've been doing recently, if I'm doing like a predominantly black room, I will, you know, like I will call black people out on eating ass. Like that's just this huge thing now that like, and I don't get it. I'm like, you know, when I was growing up, black dudes didn't eat pussy. Like that was the big stereotype. White guys ate pussy. Black dudes had big dicks. That was like the stereotype, whatever. And I'm like, and now, you know, there's anthems about eating ass. And I'm like, black people, they won't eat something at a potluck because some white lady has a fucking cat, but they're going to eat somebody's asshole. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Do you have an anthem about eating ass, Jay? Do you have an anthem about eating ass? Because you should you should write your own anthem about eating ass and then go up to that. That should be your walk-up music every time you go on stage.
Yeah. I just eat. I just have an anthem about eating.
What's the worst food decision you've ever made? I mean, where you ate something or you started to eat something and you went, this is a bad idea.
Actually, I sent you, we had talked about this and I sent you one, but I thought of one. My fucking buddy Yates. So I was living in Seattle, Washington with my buddy Yates, and my buddy Yates had lived in the South. And this is 20 to 30 years ago. A Krispy Kreme was opening up in Issaquah, Washington. It was the first one in the state of Washington. I had never heard of Krispy Kremes, never had it. Yates is like, "Oh man, dude, Krispy Kreme, you got to try these." I'm like, okay, whatever. So he had some chick that he was banging at the time go wait in a line for hours to get donuts for us. So she comes back with like 3 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. And so, and then she leaves and it's just me and Yates. And so he's like, "Here, so try one of these." So I eat it. And he's like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Yeah, man, it's a donut." I'm like, "Cool. You know, what's the big deal?" About 5 or 10 minutes later, I was like, "Hey, let me see let me see that box for a sec. And so I had like 2 more. He leaves, he comes back. Dude, I had ate a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts in one sitting to myself. And then the next day, I'm waking up and he walks into the room. He had to go do something. And I'm waking up and he's walking in with a box of Krispy Kremes. And I go, get those the fuck away from me. I don't want to see them. I'm going to fucking throw up. He goes, I'm just going to put them here. He puts them on like my dresser. He's like, you don't got to eat them. I'm just going to put them. I was like, get them the fuck out of here, Yates. He's like, I got to go, man. They're just, you don't have to touch them. They're just right here though. So I fucking ate those again. And so I'm like, fuck Krispy Kreme.
Man.
So
I mean, like
bad.
the worst thing I ever had was like, I mean, like I've gone to a, you go to a bar and they have their hot wings and then they have like the really, really hot wings. And I like super spicy food, but then I ordered like whatever kind of ghost pepper wings they had at some place. And I can't remember where it was, but they literally come by the table and they hand you a waiver to sign.
Oh,
When they hand you a waiver, that's one of those interventions from God that says you shouldn't eat this. And I'm like, I'm gonna sign. I'll sign it, sure, whatever. This is probably 10 years ago when I did this, and that was, I think I still, if I go to the bathroom and there's an uncomfortable moment, that is, I still think it's like residual chicken wing that's been in me for like 10 years. So
dude,
it was horrific. I mean, I was just, it was awful. I was just sweating like I was sweating like a rapist. Unbelievable.
How do you do spicy? I can't do hot shit.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I mean, to a
it's
point.
like it's not a flavor; it's a temperature. How fucking get it?
No, I mean, I like it. I like something that's hot, but it also has some flavor to it. This stuff here, I mean, these wings were, I mean, they were fine, but they were like so blazingly hot, and then you can see like the wait staff kind of looking over to look at this idiot who's eating these wings, saying, "Oh, this guy actually ordered this." And he signed
one, just like
he signed the waiver. I mean, okay. So I'm like, no, that was just a completely boneheaded move. What's your drinking Tullamore 12 year? We both obviously have an affinity for that delicious blend of Irish whiskey. What is your best drunk story?
Okay, well,
which could
actually,
also be your worst drunk story, depending on how you look at it. I always end up saying that to people.
This could be related. This is actually related to this bottle too. So this bottle was bought for me as a gift from my buddy Tahir Moore, who hosted my when I filmed my special in St. Louis. He brought this in and gave this to me to commemorate, as a gift, and it was very nice. Well, my buddy Tahir, during the pandemic, he had a show called Zooming with the Homies, like Zoom, and it would run like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. So I'd been on it a couple times, and the first time though he invited me on, I knew he was a big fan of Tullamore, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get some, and I'm going to drink with you virtually on the podcast. He's like, great. So it's me, Tahir, and I think 2 or 3 other people. So we start the podcast, and I'm like, I hadn't drank in a while, and it's like the fucking, I was like, I got to represent, So we're 30 minutes into the podcast, and I have drank a whole bottle of this to myself, 30 minutes in, and I still have 2.5 hours of this podcast to do. And I still have not watched the episode because it's just embarrassing. Like I don't remember anything other than I was yelling a lot. But I'm a happy drunk. So I'm the guy that's like, I fucking love you, man. I fucking love everybody, And we're all drinking, and I'm drinking. One of the guys was high, but like you have multiple people, and I'm drunk, so I'm trying to get my point in. So I'm just screaming. I'm like, hey, I fucking love you guys. Dude, we got done, and I went on I think Instagram Live, and people are like, get off Instagram, man. Don't be on here, you're hammered. And then I fucking threw up everywhere. I was like, I fell asleep. Like I threw up on the kitchen table, and then I just fell asleep in it. And it was a fucking train wreck, dude. And what's crazy is I woke up that next day, and this was like 2 years ago or a year ago. And I remember waking up and thinking the next day, I was like, I can confidently say I will never be that drunk again the rest of my life. I know I will never be that drunk again, ever. Fuck, man. So
Well,
hammered.
you shot your bottle of Tullamore Dew given to you by your buddy after you shot your special in St. Louis, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. What?
Yes.
So how did that all come about?
So I was sending my avails to Helium, and the comedy club Helium, and the owner, because that's who I just had the email for the owner, and so he emailed me back. He was like, "Let me get you in touch with our booker," and so now I'm emailing the booker, and the bookers tell me about dates and what they pay and everything, and then he says at the end, he's like, "By the way, we have a record label we started 3 or 4 years ago. We have like 40 albums. If you'd be interested in filming or doing an album or something like that, let me know." So I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to talk to you." So I'm talking to him and I'm like, "An album's cool and everything, but I want a special. Like I want something filmed and then up on Netflix or Amazon Prime, right?" So he's like, "Okay." They're like, "We can definitely get it on Amazon Prime real easy." So then he's like, "Let me look at the dates." So then he's like, "Okay, we'll do St. Louis Helium on this date. You'll feature for this guy Gareth, who I'm now buddies with. I didn't know him at the time, who had a podcast, The Dollop. He has a podcast called The Dollop, and he's like, you'll feature for him through the weekend. We'll record all the sets audio wise. We'll film the sets on Saturday, both sets, and then Sunday you'll headline, and we'll film that and record that." I was like, "Okay, cool." So the Thursday show, the first show of the weekend, it's like maybe the room is maybe 30 to 40% full. And the manager, who I guess it was like his last week, he comes over to me, he goes, "Hey, just to set expectations, this is probably going to be the most full show of the weekend." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, I'm like, "What?" And he goes, so just invite whoever you want to the show." And I'm like, I go, "Invite who?" I go, "I'm not from here. You guys pick this place." So now I'm like, "Okay, great." So now we're stressing, or I'm stressing. I call my buddy Tahir, who is he's a special guest, but he's hosting, and he's from St. Louis, thank God. So he's like, "Okay, we'll start promoting it, blah, blah, blah." So Sunday comes, and luckily there was like, it was like 80 to 85% full. It was pretty much the whole main room was full, just the very back. So I was like, "Okay, now we got a full audience." And it was predominantly black audience. And I have no qualms thinking like, "Oh, they were there for me." It was just, we were just trying to fill the room. The fucking front row was an Uber driver that we had taken during the weekend, that I was like, "Hey, you want to come to a show? I'm just trying to get people out." And he was in the front row. So, it's like I was stressing about this all the way leading up to it. And then like to the point where me and my buddy Sean were talking about like, "Okay, we'll just film it. We'll see what happens. And it's probably not going to be good. And then we'll just go do our own thing afterwards. We'll tell them thanks, but we'll do our own thing." So the show starts, and one of my first jokes is a story about how I got a role on Two Broke Girls playing a gay love interest, had to kiss a guy, and then they cut the scene. So black audiences, for the most part, are not usually fans of like gay material or gay stuff.
Right.
And that was like my second joke. But it hit, it did great. And then the whole set, I was like, you know how like you get done with a show and it can be a great set, but there's always something that you're like, maybe I should have said this, or I could have done this, or fuck, I wish I would have had this. This might be the only set that when I got done, I was like, I wouldn't change anything. I got a standing ovation, and it was fucking insane. It was crazy. And then, so originally we were like, "Oh, we'll release it at the end of October." I was like, "Okay, sounds great." So about, I don't know, fucking a month ago, I emailed the guy that has all the stuff, and I go, "Hey, I'm working on like some royalty-free music to get for like the B-roll shit at the front." And his response was like, looking at my emails, I never sent you like clips to edit or look at. Huh? Oh, oops, my bad. Okay, let me get on that." And it's looking like now we're gonna have to push it to like next year. And I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. He just sent me the audio stuff, which I haven't seen any of the video stuff. And so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it, Derek. It's like, it's so frustrating and like disappointing, because it's like it might have been one of the best sets I ever had, or it definitely was one of the best sets I ever had. And I'm like, fuck, it's like that's what you're like, fuck, perfect. They captured it, and then now I don't know what's going to happen with it. Like Amazon Prime also, I guess starting November 1st, they've changed how you submit shit. So I don't even know if it's going to be as easy to get up on Amazon Prime now. And so now I'm like, fuck, man, it's I don't know. Let's see what happens with it.
Nah, you know what? I think it's going to work out fine for you. It sucks having these speed bumps when something's not in your control. I mean, for me, I'm not a control freak, but I like to at least have a grasp on what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to be completely guiding the ship, but I'm like, all right, I want to see at least where it's going. And, when's the ETA? Like with you, where you're expecting this to be happening at the end of October, and then we're like, maybe it's going to happen next year. And it's like, look, I don't care what the answer is. Just give me an answer. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And now I'm in limbo. We'll see what happens.
You know what? I'll be positive about it. I'm sure it's going to work out, man. It's especially when you have that, when you capture that moment, like you said, where that was like your best set and you wouldn't change anything. So like I said, I'm sure this is going to come together just fine for you. I mean, that's just because I go back and I look at certain things that I had recorded and you go, that was great. And then you look back and you go, nah, it wasn't all that good. And then it ended up kind of going away. You're like, I'm glad it disappeared.
I love your be positive. I love your be positive. The Irish, we're just so positive. We're not sarcastic or pessimistic. Oh yeah, sure. No problem.
As he knocks back the last of the Tullamore Dew and relives the Instagram live story. Oh. What is your biggest pet peeve?
I think conversation confirmers drive me fucking nuts. And what I mean by that is you're on the phone with somebody. Yeah, you're on the phone with someone and you're talking or you're telling a story. And I wanted to do something about this on stage, but I just haven't worked it out. But you're talking, and as you're talking, they're going, yeah, yep, on the phone. Like, it's one thing if we're like this, like, talking in person, but on the phone, because when they do that, then I stop because I think they're saying something. So I'm like, I'll be like, yeah, so the other day I was going to the store. Yeah. And I go, what? Oh, nothing. Okay, so I'm on my way to the store, and this guy, yeah, what? Dude, it fucking drives me nuts. I'm like, it's got to be like a walkie-talkie. I talk, I stop, you talk. It just drives me crazy.
I've never heard conversation confirmers before. But no, but I think that also goes back to where somebody might be dicking around on their phone. They're half-ass listening to you. And so to me, I'm like, listen, if we're gonna have a conversation, let's have a conversation. So when somebody, you're talking about your day and they're going, yeah. All I'm picturing is somebody just doing this, going, oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm liking TikTok videos,
Or if they text cool.
Go fuck yourself. Which I did. Because I've got a little auto.
We're texting.
I've got a little auto response. I know. I got a little auto response.
Like, hey,
at the bottom of your, at the bottom where it says like it'll give you like a little suggested reply to something, and so cool popped up, and I hit it, and then you said something else, and I hit it again like a douchebag. I own that, and then you said, "Send cool to me one more time, Derek Richard. Send it one more time," and then I scrolled back, and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm an asshole." So
I'm like this. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm really upset. My mom just died," and you're like, "Cool,
cool." Oh well.
Yeah.
A little smiley emoji.
Yeah, a little wink.
Yeah, a wink. Mom's dead. Whoopsie. Sorry. You moved here to Vegas, and you've been out here now for what? Probably almost 2 years.
Over a year and 2 months. Yeah.
Was there anything when you moved here? Because I know comedians that have moved here that have, because this city has every vice imaginable, whether it's gambling, booze, prostitution, drugs, whatever, hookers, whatever. Exactly. Bottles of Tullamore Dew that just happen to be that will be thrown at you from hotel rooms. Was there anything that scared you about moving here where you're like, look, I got to kind of keep myself in check from X, otherwise I'm going to get killed?
No, the only thing is, this speaks to me being a fat fuck. The only thing I cared about was the heat. the heat and AC at my place. So the place I moved into here, it's where the Rat Pack used to keep their mistresses or store their whores, as I like to say.
A whore storage facility?
Yes. Yeah, Dean Martin.
You live in a whore storage facility.
Yeah. Horse sale. When I moved in, they were so I moved into like, they have different, like they have the one and the two. I'm in the two complex, but in the one complex, which I originally was going to move into, that you didn't have to pay for electric. So you could run your AC 24/7 and you don't pay anything. But there was a problem when I moved into that one. So they're like, well, we can move you over to the twos, but it's newer facility, newer as in like 65. But it's a newer facility, but you have to pay your electric bill. And I was like, oh, fuck. But they're like, it's never over like $50 because it's like it's a community like system. I forget what it's called. What do they call it? Whatever air, something air. Fuck. Anyways, but it gets cold. It gets like down to fucking 60 the AC. But I run it 24/7, and my bill has never been over $50. That was literally the only concern I had about moving here, because I was like, I hate being hot and uncomfortable. And I lived in Tampa for a year. That's what all these. If somebody's like, why does he have all these different things? These are all the cities I've lived in my life. But I lived in Tampa Bay. Fucking that one. You get it. I lived in Tampa Bay for a while, and the humidity. Oh fuck, dude! I was like, I can't. This is too much.
Yeah, I lived down there in South Florida for about 12 years. I was in West Palm Beach, and then I had spent some time living in Clearwater as well. And yeah, that summertime heat, and the humidity will just absolutely roast you. So, well, lucky you. You didn't have any of the vices out here that could completely screw you up as far as gambling or anything like that goes. Because that's the one thing I've seen guys that come out here and they get hooked on gambling, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, all my money's gone. This sucks.
When I was 21, I supported myself for a year by playing poker. I was in Seattle, and we had a buddy that was house. Yeah, my buddy was a houseman at a card room that closed at like 2 a.m. So me and my buddy Jacobson, we would go there and we would give him a check for like $100 that had no money on the account, and then he would give us like 100 in chips. And then like if you won 400, he'd cash you out 300, tear up the check, right? And then we would go back to the apartment and play hearts for $1 a point until like 6 or 7 in the morning. And I did that for like a year, and I still love playing poker, but I only have been to out to play poker like once or twice. And one was with Brad Garrett. We were talking, and he was like, you want to go play some cards? And I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to turn down a chance to play cards with Brad. So I was like, fuck yeah. So we went and played cards.
How'd you do?
I won 400, and yeah, I won 400. I was going to say more to the story, but I don't know if Brad wants business out there. So I did good. There was a fucking psycho to my left. There was a fucking psycho to my left that got into a little bit of a thing with. I literally. So, there was one seat open when we got there, and Brad told me to take it. So I go and I sit there, and Brad walks over there with me. And then this guy to my left, had been up for 48 hours, I guess. He's like, oh, Brad Garrett, blah, blah, blah. And he's talking, so funny, blah, blah, cool, whatever. And I'm pretty, like, if I don't know people at the table, I'm pretty chill. Like, I don't really talk, So this guy to my left starts telling me, oh, Brad, this and that, and he keeps touching me. And so finally I was like, okay, cool. I go, you don't have to touch me. And then he fucking, oh God, I can't touch you. I was like, yeah, don't touch me. I go, you can talk. We can talk. Cool. He's just rattling.
You can't touch me.
Yeah. And everybody else at the table keeps looking at me like, yeah, this guy's fucking crazy. And he fucking, Brad's the nicest guy. And you're like, oh, don't touch me. He's like, yeah, quit fucking, keep your fucking dick beaters off me. I don't know you. I was like, I don't fucking know you.
You're like, I'm nowhere near my lotion. I'm not going to let you touch me.
Yeah, exactly. You get it.
If I was closer to my lotion, you could finger me all day long. It doesn't make any difference. So let's say you're Alec Baldwin's public relations person right now, I wouldn't
Yeah.
wish that job on pretty much anybody, but how would you handle this situation
I'd probably quit.
as a PR person, legitimately, or as a comedian? What would you tell him?
Man. Well,
And before we
this
go
point-
any further, let me just say this:
Yeah.
I feel horrible for the
Oh,
people that were the victims in this whole thing. But I mean, this was just, I mean, the more stories you hear about how this whole thing trickled down, it is just an absolute shit circus.
show. Yeah. He's already put out a statement.
Right.
So if you're talking about right now I'd tell him just shut the fuck up. Don't say shit. Actually, that's what I would have told him back then too, before he puts out a statement or anything. I mean, dude, it's like I keep seeing people posting a picture. Have you seen the picture of him wearing the T-shirt about guns?
Yes.
Guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people.
Yes.
Brutal. I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah. Listen, there is no lag time. I mean, I've seen the memes where people have put a little teardrop on him.
Yeah. It's fucking,
I'm like, wow, these people are fucking wrong.
Dude.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I laughed, but I'm like, holy shit. There's no lag time for people to go ahead and put this shit together.
Yeah, you know what's funny is we were talking about this on the Hollingsworth last night, and one of the guys on the podcast was like, "Now, as Alec Baldwin, do you go back to finish this film, or and any scenes where he has a gun? Are you just like, hey man, can we like rewrite this, or what the fuck?"
Well, what was the one meme that I saw? It said, "I don't think anybody is going to be excited to hear when they say Alec Baldwin resumes shooting."
That's great. That's good. That's good. Yeah,
I got a kick out of that one. I did.
I would just tell him, shut the fuck up, keep your head down, and wait for the next story to take everybody's attention. Because every day there's people are upset at something or outraged. I'm not saying people aren't justified in being upset that somebody died, but it's so dumb that I have to say that.
I know.
Let me put a little caveat here, so fucking you don't get canceled and all this stupid shit.
So nobody tries to come after Big Irish Jay. You got 3 podcasts: Hollingsworthless, Love in Black and White, and also Fucking Boo. And people can access these all off of your website.
Yeah, you can do that. You can go to iTunes. They're all on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and all of them we do like this, where we do a video of it too. So you can like when we do it live where we have people chat and stuff. They can also present questions or comments and stuff, and we'll highlight it and stuff. So but they're available on all those.
Super cool, man. And you got dates coming up here in Vegas at Brad Garrett's at the MGM Grand, and then also I think on your website I saw that the Tacoma Comedy Club.
Yeah, I'm and also
up in Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah, I'm going to come up when you're at the Cellar, because you're on there. Kathleen's on there with you, I think, and Jackie Fabulous. So
nice.
I'm gonna come hang.
Oh, super cool, man. Well, glad that you're here in town, my friend. And people, go on your website, bigirishj.com, jhollingsworth.com. Check out his podcasts, Hollingsworthless, Love in Black and White, and also Fucking Boo. And more importantly, come and see you live in person, especially when he doesn't get the light and he just keeps going when he's on stage.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick.
You're awesome, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I'll see you on Grindr.
Huge thanks to Big Irish Jay Hollingsworth. His website, again, bigirishj.com, also jhollingsworth.com. Go to my website, DerekRichards.com. Find out when I'm going to be traveling in your neck of the woods. I'm at the MGM Grand at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club through October 31st, and then at the Comedy Cellar, November 4, 5, 6, and 7 at the Rio here in Las Vegas. Also, my album is Double Down. Snag a copy of that, iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. And also, a huge thanks to VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, go on their website, check out their record, hit them up on social media. You can see what they pick. Actually, they don't tell you what they pick on social media because then you get the stuff for free. You got to sign up for their subscription, but it's well worth it because they make their clients money. They've made me money. They make me money. They can make you money. Thank you so much for joining me. Derek Richards here in Las Vegas. Check out A Drink with Derek on YouTube, all the episodes. Huge thanks to all my friends at New Takes TV. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.